a formative memory of mine was playing Left 4 Dead with some older girl that I don't really remember. I do remember her asking me why I wanted to play as the girl character. I remember turning to her and saying, well, I always play as the girl in this game. So it's not much surprise that, like, 5 years later, I'd also be a woman. Left 4 Dead is a pretty impactful game for me. I think Left 4 Dead 2 might be the game I've bought the most over the years. Also having the most playtime on Steam for me. It was probably my first Valve game, apart from like running around on TF2 maps by myself because I didn't have Xbox Live. But while TF2 never really resonated with me, and still hasn't, honestly, Left 4 Dead stuck with me until now, really. I still really like it. Left 4 Dead is kind of the brainchild of Turtle Rock Studios, who shortly after got bought by Valve, before not being bought by Valve. They still make things, I think. They also worked on Valve games you may have heard of, like Counter-Strike for the Xbox, and Counter-Strike Condition Zero, but only the multiplayer of that game. I think it's pretty interesting that Left 4 Dead started life as a first-person wizard combat game. We don't have enough of those, especially now. What do we even have? Immortals of Aveum?
What do you put into stew when it's someone's birthday?
What?
Birthday stew. What goes in it?
Yeah, that's not a thing, Fife.
Want to try it? And it's the snails that really seal the deal.
I kind of love how No Mercy is perpetual rainy night. Really, all of the vibes in all of the Left 4 Dead campaigns are pretty damn good. Oh, and like, maybe most of Death Toll. The shit rules. Did you know you could just like walk up here? I think the first time I'd considered zombies a thing was seeing my brother's friend playing some Call of Duty Zombies map out of bounds. I don't remember which one, but the thought of being in a city full of zombies really worked for child me. I played a lot of zombie games after that point. I think the only ones we owned at the time were the first Black Ops and Left 4 Dead, and Black Ops only had 2 zombie maps for people like me who were too poor to buy the DLC, and being a child, and Left 4 Dead had 4, so I obviously played more Left 4 Dead. It's kind of a shame that Valve never made any more video games after this. I think they had something really going on here. Turtle Rock Studios leaves Valve in like 2009, I think, and began working on their next game, Evolve. I have mixed feelings on this game. I think esports might be evil. I can't really get into games like Marvel Rivals or Valorant or Overwatch or whatever. They just don't work for me like they did anymore. I used to be a pretty big Overwatch player too. But honestly, playing competitive games now sounds like a fucking nightmare. So of course I'm talking about a game that tried really hard to be a 4v1 esports game. But what interests me more is the journey I went on to play Evolve in the capacity that I wanted to. I own a physical copy of the game now. I always had Stage 2 on Steam back when it was available, but you can't really play much of that anymore as far as I know. Plus, there's also a lot of DLC for that game. You can't really buy that anymore. So, I got the physical copy, and it didn't have the manual, which means Legacy Evolve wasn't going to be a thing I could install from there. Thankfully, the Evolve community pretty much figured this out. Unfortunately, the effort I went through to get Evolve didn't really pay off. I think the concept of Evolve is a lot more interesting to me than it is in practice. The idea of a first-person monster hunting game is something I kind of adore, and it still hasn't really been done, at least not in the way that I want it to. I want to see one eventually. We could have Burger Monster Hunter. I think that would be great. Hunt Showdown is pretty close to that, but I'm not big on extraction shooters. Turtle Rock's most recent game is Back 4 Blood, and well, I really like this one. I don't think it's perfect or better than Left 4 Dead or some other shit like that, but it's a pretty damn solid shot at doing something new. As you may be able to tell, I like Back 4 Blood, and I think it has a lot of ideas that work pretty well. It's also got things I don't like the supply lines. I think that's a pretty dumb way to unlock things. It's very live servicey. I wish I could just pick from anything that I want at the same time instead of randomly selected lists. Continues are also a bit weird, but I think that's just in service to the kind of roguelike aspect to the game, so whatever. I do really like the levels, though. I think the environments look nice, and I really love the way that they have bulletin boards in a bunch of the safe rooms with a bunch of notes on it. It's really cute. It's a little more real than the wall writing in Left 4 Dead, even though this game also has wall writing. Back 4 Blood got enough support to get 3 expansions, and honestly, I like them quite a bit. You get bonus randomized tunnels that give you extra loot, and then 2 normal campaigns that I think are the best in the entire game, especially the last one. There's some really good zones in there. I think it's really worth checking out at least once. If Vermintide and Darktide and Payday and like 10 other games can take what Left 4 Dead did and expand on it, I don't see why Back 4 Blood can't. Why is this the one that people hate necessarily? Is it because they said they made Left 4 Dead? I mean, partially true, but also not really. I imagine the lack of support probably gave it a pretty short lifespan. I mean, it's not a bad game, it's not poorly made. I would have really liked to see more updates to this. I don't necessarily think that Valve carried Left 4 Dead 2 or whatever. I don't think that's true at all. But also, Turtle Rock Studios straight up did not work on that game. I think Turtle Rock is pretty interesting because their big releases are kind of weird, ambitious games to me. Evolve and Back 4 Blood are games that I haven't really played anything like since. At least, not exactly. Despite there being games like them, it's not something I'm sure how to describe too properly. And while I don't think I really like Evolve as a game, I think it's pretty weird and charming and interesting just as a thing that got made. I guess I'm just drawn to weird video games. I think they're neat. I mean, I think they deserve to exist, however flawed and however poorly balanced they are. I'm the kind of weirdo to defend literally any weird video game that interests me in some way. I need my backlog to look like this. I don't know, if I like video games, I like finding out what I like and don't like in video games, and I like thinking about them. I don't want to judge a game because of one person's review saying it's objectively bad or something. That's coward shit. I want to play the games that interest me in some way, whatever piques my interest, regardless of review scores or objectivity. There's no objectivity here. It's an art form, and I like art. I like playing the shit that challenges me. I don't really finish every game I play, but I try to at least say something positive about them. I think I've done pretty good on that. I really want you to play more video games.